And then through your childhood journey and early adulthood was like marked by a lot of significant challenges, including like family addiction and poverty. How did these experiences shape your personal life or perspective on life as well?
Yeah, so it's been it's been an interesting journey for me because there is an element of resentment towards my parents in the sense of like addiction, and I understand that like I have probably more of an understanding of addiction than a lot of people, but it was really really hard because addiction creates environments with that children just should not be in, like they should like you have people around that you should not be around as children. It's not a safe environment. And then like growing up into like a teenager and a young teenager, and then just seeing them choose anything over you as a human being, like it was really really difficult. And I go through this in the book, like having a parent choose to have you, and then you're here, and then you're not chosen in this life. Any like alcohol, drugs, women, men, like anything else would be chosen over you. And so there was a lot of like abandonment issues, and there was a lot of traits that I had to like, which were toxic within me. Like like in my 20s, I was in really toxic relationships, and I had to take responsibility for my part of what I was doing in those relationships. So it was like, so my childhood, as you touched on, Gina, it really does kind of forge you into who you are as an adult. But then there comes a point where you need to take personal responsibility for who you are and who you've been forged into. And you've got a choice of whether or not you're going to continue down that road and continue to go with those toxic traits, or you can have some self reflection, which is very difficult, and develop. And then the world is your oyster, but it's not an easy road. It's a hard one to be brutally honest with oneself about how you're acting as a human being and what you're doing to go, I need to change this,
Yeah.
like I need, there was a part in like the book that I discuss, and it's so my one of my best friends had to call me out on my behavior. Because he was like, this isn't very good behavior, Stephanie, like you are affecting other human beings. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. But then that meant that I had to then do something about it. And so yeah, so I have gone through all of these things. And the other thing is that yes, I've done a lot of work and a lot of personal development. I've gone and seen a lot of like psychologists and things like that. But I think that personally, we are always developing. Yeah. We're
Mhm.
always having that self-reflection. Like to say that we've done, it's just not possible, because like things will come up again and they'll trigger us again, and we'll be like, but I've already gone through it, like why do I need to go and learn the lesson again?
I
But
know.
yeah, 100%. So but you do, and you do it because you make a commitment to yourself, and your future self as well, because everything that we go through is a commitment to us as a like to the person that we are. And it's not necessarily immediate when we get the results. It's our future self that gets to have to kind of reap the rewards. And the more that I've gone down this road, the more that like I just can't turn it back. I love it because I get to help people in ways that I wouldn't have been able to. And I get to connect with them in the most beautiful ways. And and I cherish that, like I cherish those moments. So yeah, there's been a lot of resentment, like my father's still addicted. He is like 76 or something, and he's still addicted to substance and refuses to give up. And and that's a really hard thing to watch somebody kill themselves, really, like,
Mhm.
and like he's losing his mental capacities, like all of those things. So it's like a whole life of just abandonment, really. And I had to kind of be there for me, and and I had to, I had to show up for me because my parents couldn't show up for me. And
Right.
that's a huge thing to do. But yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, that reminds me like my mom, like she was abused as a child, like physically abused and also emotionally abused. Her mom would call her names. Obviously, I didn't have a relationship with my grandma. Um, and then on my dad's side, my grandma passed away when I was a baby, so I didn't know I didn't have a grandma growing up. I had like my aunts on my dad's side, that kind of like took care of me because my dad passed away when I was a baby as well. And so,
Oh, I'm
but then I
so
had my aunts,
sorry.
and they were like grandmother figures, and so I loved them to death. They were beautiful. But my mom had a choice. She said to me, like, listen, I had a choice whether do I want to be just like my mom or do I want to change. And mind you, she still had those. I mean, I got spanked as a child with the belt, whatever. I don't know, maybe it could be my generation as a generational thing as well. But I got reprimanded, but not to the capacity where she got reprimanded. So she had to make that choice. Like, I want to change, and we have
Yeah,
to go through these things in our adult life and make decisions. And I always say, as a victim of sexual trauma, I had to make a choice. Do I want to stay as a victim or do I want to move on? That's a
oh my
choice.
God. It is a choice. And it's like, and that question I actually asked myself last year, because I said I was at a point where I couldn't even acknowledge that I was a victim,
Mhm.
because I did, if I was a victim, then I then had to acknowledge that, yeah, that everything had happened. And even though everything had, like, all of the sexual abuse had happened, I didn't feel comfortable going, I'm a victim, until last year. And then I was like, but you are. And then the fact that you're denying yourself that acknowledgement is detrimental, because this has happened and there's no way that we can turn back time and not make it happen. Like, you have to now deal with it. And so even that concept of, who am I? Am I a victim? Am I not a victim? Am I a survivor? Like, that's
Mhm.
another one. Like, I was just like, because I've like we have survived, and that's the literal meaning of it. Like, we have survived abuse, and so we are survivors. But for me to actually, like, acknowledge that within myself was a really hard conversation. And I was like, and it was what I avoided for a long time. But then I was like, I had to be honest. I just had to be honest with myself, and I had to be like, yeah, I am a sexual survivor. Like, I am a sexual abuse survivor, and I am a victim of it because I didn't choose this. Like, this
Mhm.
was forced upon me. And so, yeah, even that concept has been a big one. And, like, because people have wanted me to go stand up and speak, like, different rallies and things like that, but I couldn't, because I wasn't there. Does that make sense? Like, I wasn't in
Oh
a
yeah.
space where I could stand up in front of people and be like, I am, like, a sexual abuse victim, and I've survived this. Like, to say that publicly was just not somewhere I was at. But now it's a different story. Now I'm like, and that's also why, the book is so powerful, because it's like, you, as a reader, you go on this kind of journey with me. Does that make sense? Like,